Annie, you give us a cue, right?
Yes.
Hold up your finger or something like that, and I'll watch for you.
Great. Welcome, folks. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, right at 11. Welcome, new attendees. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Thank you for being here.
Smart putting the cat back there.
Yes.
No, we want to see your cap.
If he was in the room, you would. He likes Zoom calls.
They all do.
All right, Vicki, go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for attending today's candidate forum featuring the candidates running for the position of Village President of Hoffman Estates. My name is Vicki Martin. I am the co-president and forum chairman of the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area, which includes not only Palatine, Schaumburg, and Hoffman Estates, but several other communities with whom we share legislative districts. Founded in 1920, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that neither supports, opposes, or recommends candidates for office. The League was founded here in Chicago in 1920 in order to help educate and inform the new female voters who had just won the right to vote. The League's purpose is to promote responsibility through the informed and active participation of all citizens. Providing this forum enables members of the community to become better informed about the issues facing the community and candidates running for office. We are pleased to offer this service to you. We'd like to extend our sincerest thanks To Kate Niehoff and Annie Tillman from the Schaumburg Township District Library, whose help and technology have made today's forum possible. I'm happy to introduce our co-host, Annie Tillman, who will be operating this webinar. I will now turn the forum over to Annie, who will explain the technological side of our forum.
Thank you, Vicki, and thank you all for being here today. Right now, you'll be seeing a poll that will be launched onto your screen. As soon as you complete these questions, it will disappear from your screen. So during today's presentation, all audience members will be muted. We will not be using the chat or raise hand features. All questions for the candidates have been submitted by an audience at the time of registration or from local nonpartisan organizations. We are offering closed captioning for today's forum. This feature can be turned on or off if you are watching on a computer. You can find the toggle for that on the bottom of your screen on that menu. If you are watching from a tablet, you'll need to go to the settings on your app and you can turn it on and off there. The captions will be present on YouTube. I am pleased to introduce today's moderator, Catherine Sawyer. Catherine is a member of the League of Women Voters and is a trained moderator. We are very fortunate that she is able to be with us this afternoon.
Good morning, everyone. It's certainly my pleasure to be with you to moderate this candidate forum. So that everyone is aware, I'm a resident of Palatine, so I'm not eligible to vote in this election. And this is why I've been asked to serve as moderator as a volunteer for the League of Women Voters. First, let me take a few minutes to explain the format and the rules of our forum today. All candidates were contacted by mail, email, and phone and have agreed to abide by the ground rules provided by the League of Women Voters. They are as follows. Candidates have drawn numbers to determine speaking order. The moderator will rotate this order during the forum of questions, the questions of the forum. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Next, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions. The moderator will repeat the question if necessary. If needed, a rebuttal may be requested. Each candidate may have a maximum of 2 rebuttals. Rebuttals will be timed with a limit of 30 seconds each. At the end, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. Candidates will be given a 30-second warning, so please quickly sum up your thoughts before you see the stop sign. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all candidates. Today's forum will be recorded for the League of Women Voters' use in educating the public. A video of this forum will be available early next week on the League of Women Voter of Palatine area website and the Schaumburg Library website. The candidates have agreed to this. No voice, image, or other duplication of the forum may be used by a candidate's representative or campaign in any campaign advertising. The League of Women Voter claims copyright ownership of all recordings or transcripts produced from this event and reserves the right to publicize this forum. To view this forum, please go to the League's website at www.lwvpalatinearea.org. In our forum this morning, we'll hear from candidates hoping to become the next president of the Village of Hoffman Estates. This forum is scheduled to run until 1 p.m. With us today and on the ballot are Bill McLeod and Mark Mueller. Nick Morius will also be on the ballot, but has declined to participate in this forum. I want to thank you all for your participation. We'll begin with your 2-minute opening statements, and by number draw, Mr. Mueller, you will go first. Please begin.
Thank you, and good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning to everyone that's watching. I'm glad that you're taking your time of your day to learn a little bit more about myself, and I'm always happy to answer some questions. So, I grew up in Hoffman Estates. I grew up in Parcel C, went to St. Hubert School, and ended up at Conant High School. I currently live out west and married to my wife, who's a nurse, and have 2 daughters, both attending Iowa University. One's going into nursing, the other one's a teacher. And we've been very active in this community our entire life. So after high school, I went to Harper, got my degree, and started coaching youth football in our village. which I played growing up as well through the Hoffman Red Hawks, and I've been doing that for 30 years. That's a great program. We have a lot of fun. So that brought me to being the president of that organization and led up to being the conference president. And also I was on the regional level and helped out with those kind of boards as well. I was a national advocate. I dealt with Fred Crespo through Springfield with concussion awareness. And my job experiences, I just retired as the watch commander for the police department. I was there for 28 years. Great profession. That's really where this drive to kind of get more involved after I was done started. I'm on the street every day, so I'm excited to hear from the residents, and I feel I have a lot to give back. I'm excited. A lot of plans that we want to do, and I'm looking forward to today answering questions and hopefully getting any questions answered that you guys have.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Mr. McLeod, 2 minutes for your opening statement.
I am Bill McLeod. I live with my wife Joni in the Westbury subdivision in Hoffman Estates. I'm the stepfather of 8 stepchildren of mine, and one of whom is deaf. And my wife and I co-owned a small business for 34 years. I serve on the leadership boards for Women in Need Growing Stronger Wings and the Children's Advocacy Center. I also am the former vice president of Northwest Suburban Boy Scout Council. In 2020, I received the President's Award, Bancroft Award for service to special needs community from Winston Knowles School. I was also named an advocate for small business by the United States Conference of Mayors. I'm the former president of the Northwest Municipal Conference. I still serve on the transportation, legislative, and executive committees. I'm also a member of the PACE Suburban Bus Board. I am a member of the Transportation and Infrastructure Steering Committee for the National League of Cities and a member of the Transportation and Mass Communications Committee of the United States Conference of Mayors. During my time in office, we have had many accomplishments. I mentioned some of the recent ones. We're able to secure a full interchange at Barrington Road and I-90 with a PACE suburban bus station there and with a park and ride. We had Bell Works is redoing the old AT&T property. And this is an exciting concept of Metroburb that will have offices, restaurants, all sorts of other businesses in there. They will schedule events in their piazza, and there will be housing around the perimeter of it. A Metroburb is a slice of the city in a suburban setting, and it'll offer another lifestyle choice for people in Hoffman Estates. Also, Bistronic just opened their regional headquarters on Central Road in Hoffman Estates after leaving Elgin, and they've joined the high-tech companies in that area, including Trumpf, NSK, DMG Mori, Big Kaiser.
Thank you,
Also,
Mr. McLeod. We'll start with our first question, and you have a minute for each question. What qualities do you possess that make you well suited to be the Hoffman Estates Village president? And Mr. McLeod, you go first. Start now.
I think I have a track record, a proven record of governing. I've served as the mayor for the last 20 years. I have a very collaborative leadership style, and I work very closely with all the other mayors and leaders in the county, the state, and the federal governments to secure what we need in Hoffman Estates. Many of the situations we deal with affect more than one town, so we have to work cooperatively with all the mayors. And I'm also a member of the Metro Mayor's Caucus.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller, 1 minute.
Thank you. I've been in positions of leadership my entire life, whether it was at work. I was a field training officer. I was in charge of our training unit. Ended up being in charge of our patrol unit. We handled budgets, negotiated contracts, and dealt with personnel. My care for this community is genuine and true. I have, of course, strong ties to here. And I think one of the best attributes that I enjoy doing is talking to people. During our walk and talks, we learned a lot about what people like in this village. And I think my best attribute is going to be the openness and honest communication that I can bring to the people in town. And I'm excited to get going.
Thank you. Next question. What is the most urgent problem besides COVID-19 facing the village right now? And how would you address it? Mr. Mueller, you go first. You have 1 minute.
Well, I think a huge part of our village right now is the growth that's coming in there, and we have to address some issues and really getting in and digging into the exact amount of those issues is going to take a little bit of time. But the Now Arena is something right now that is losing millions of dollars, and it's something that needs to be addressed. So it's been said before that we need some, change in management, or it's a management issue. We had a new promoter contact me that wants to do 60 shows in 2022 if I'm elected. He wants to come in, or otherwise they said they're going to go somewhere else. So that arena is a #1 concern for me of what we can do to do better and continue to grow these areas of the village that are open right now that businesses want to come into.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod, 1 minute.
Economic development is obviously a very major issue, which is why we worked so hard on bringing new businesses in and reconverting the old AT&T property into Bell Works. Also, we have to worry about our infrastructure. We have water mains, sewer mains, and roads. We want to continue our aggressive road program. We have to work to upgrade our water mains. We have one issue, transmission line from the southern part of town into the north side. We're going to have to redo that. That's very important. The Now Arena actually grossed over $1 million this past year with essentially being closed. We have a great management company there. If you look at the record of the arena's done very well.
Thank you. Next question. If you're elected, what 3 goals would you like to accomplish in the first year of your term? And we'll start with Mr. McLeod.
Well, I think we mentioned some of those already. You want to continue to develop the economy in Hoffman Estates. We still have hundreds of acres of vacant land, so it's a great opportunity. And we want to take advantage of that. We do want to make sure we keep our road program going, and we maintain all our water systems. And we work closely cooperatively with other communities. In fact, we're doing a hookup with Palatine where they're going to hook into our water system too as an emergency backup. We're on different pipelines, so if something were to happen to one of our communities, we could still have a safe, secure way of having Lake Michigan water. This is a huge accomplishment, and I'm very proud of that.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller.
Of course, the arena is going to be a huge priority for me of making sure that that is on the right track. We Zoomed the other day with the chamber. They said it only made $400,000 or $500,000. Now we're hearing that it's supposedly $1 million. So we need to fix that. We need to handle some business relationships better. I don't know if the mayor actually knows this because it's on the way, but a huge chunk of land right now that is over by Plody and the Oranger family off of Beverly Road has just filed a lawsuit to de-annex out of the village. It's the largest unincorporated or largest piece of land still left to be developed, and they want to leave this village and go to East Dundee. That's huge, and I think we can rebuild that relationship. And then stability. We have a lot of people that are retiring, a lot of new people that are coming in as far as village staff, and we're going to have to deal with them to get the right people in the right positions.
Thank you. Next question. As village president, what would be your plan for working with the diverse communities that reside in Hoffman Estates? Mr. Mueller.
Well, one of the things that we want to open right away is a Boys and Girls Club. What we found over the years through our football league is there's a gap between when kids are that 14 years old to about 20, that they can use some help with some mentorship and some direction. So we have a group who's already excited to get that going. And I also want to put a dedicated senior location right there with it. My mom used to live out in Belvedere, and they had all kinds of, you could go play bingo and get your taxes done free. I'm not saying send it to the park district or send it to the township. We want to do direct in there. I think doing that alone is going to draw more people in. On the Hoffman Forward team is one of the trustees. is going to be a good connection with us to our Indian community as well. So I think building with all of those together, it can really help us outreach all different nationalities.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod, 1 minute, please.
One of the first things I did when I became mayor was start the Cultural Awareness Commission, where we have representatives from all the different communities. We have many events that deal with their heritage and their history. I personally go to many, many events, folks with different cultures. I've also recruited people for our boards and commissions of various different groups, men, women, whatever. And one of those, Fred Crespo, was on our plan commission, and now he's an Illinois state representative. So I work very hard to try to build those relationships. And I think we've been fairly successful in doing that. The village staff, I think, has gotten more diverse. It's very difficult to change staff quickly. You can do it as people leave, but people have a right to their jobs. So you just can't fire people and hire people of a different ethnicity. It doesn't work.
Thank you. Next question. Many residents feel that they don't have a voice in their local government. How would you improve communication between the village and the public and make yourself more accessible to village residents? Mr. McLeod, you go first. 1 minute, please.
I think we've done a lot to be accessible. When we had block parties in the years we did, we went to all the block parties, so did the village trustee. We go to all these events. We do have Facebook and all these other social media avenues. People can sign up for weekly updates. We do have our newsletter. We're constantly using Facebook and other avenues, the police department, the fire department, the village, to get information out. And it's can be difficult when you're in a suburb because most of the focus of the major media is on the city of Chicago. So we have to use every avenue at our disposal to get information out. And I think we've done that very successfully.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
That's actually one of the things that people were telling us when we were walking around is they felt even during COVID that they didn't get enough information from the village. And yes, you have the local access channel. I was in charge of our Facebook for the police department. And, generationally, I think I'm definitely one who's more techie and will be out and open and be on Facebook more. Twitter, we all saw how good that worked for our last president. So that's not usually the best avenue all the time. But communication about what's going on is huge. And I'm definitely an outgoing person. I agree with the block parties and stuff. Those are great. We attended those from the police department. I signed all of our officers to go to it, and those are awesome. We did the parades and stuff during COVID. But I'm definitely going to be more out and open and visible and welcoming questions when people want to ask.
Thank you. Next question. With the climate change crisis affecting all levels of government, what is your plan as village president to increase sustainability efforts and grow the village to greenness? Mr. Mueller.
I think we definitely have to look into a lot of the different avenues of our infrastructure, and the people are concerned about what's going to be happening in the future. A lot of these areas have drainage issues. We would like to see some sort of a solar powered lights be installed with the streets. So just overall, the business sustainability is something for me that's going to be huge, and not necessarily just worrying about the projects right now that are bringing a little bit of money and giving them the deferred money on the back end. We want to do some stuff that's going to be able to handle our residents right now and give them the help immediately.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
I think we've seen with the increase in rain we've had recently, this is one reason we put the stormwater management tax in, to address those issues, those drainage issues and other issues. And that's why we did that. We have a green commission, a sustainability commission that was started many years ago. We worked very hard on that, and we've been awarded by the Metro Mayor's Caucus and other organizations for our efforts on recycling and sustainability. We did convert all the streetlights to LEDs. So we're working on every avenue of sustainability, whether it's environmental, fiscal, people-wise, mental health-wise. We work on all of them.
Thank you. Next question. What do you feel is the greatest strength of Hoffman Estates? Mr. McLeod, you're first.
I think the greatest strength in Hoffman Estates that we have is our people. We have highly educated population. We have terrific schools. We have about 30 boards and commissions that people serve on and volunteer for. And many of the aspects of what makes life so good in this community would not be that well without all these volunteers who work to help make this community what it is. If someone is in need, you can see the response from people wanting to help people. I'm very proud of this community, and it's the people living here that make it what it is.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller, greatest strength.
I believe that the people who are living here in town have a genuine love and they just have a sense of responsibility for things that are going on here. I've learned through our walks that so many of the village is changing. It's becoming a lot younger. There's a lot younger couples who want to get involved with stuff. So it's great that there are these commissions and committees for them to get involved in. We're really excited for that. But we can also do a better job for just an overall sense of community. Honestly, our 4th of July Fest is terrible. Nobody likes it. We need to bring that back over to the Village Hall. We need a smaller fest that's going to be fun for everyone to go to. Everyone wants it over there. Things like that. More fun family events and just having people enjoy this community. It's a great one that it is.
Thank you. Next question. If you were to change one thing in the village, what would it be and why? Mr. Mueller, you're first.
Well, I'd like to see this arena actually have some acts that are in it. In 2019, it had 90 shows. It was supposed to have 140. So that place, yes, they're doing some good things to it with the beer garden and some other ideas, but that place right now can really turn around and be something positive over in that area.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod, changing one thing.
I think that we are changing many things. One of the things we're doing is the Village Green 2.0. Because of the lack of being able to use the arena except for very small events, we looked at the outside, and we reconfigured the Village Green. We widened the sidewalks, put in different lighting, and we did take down this dirt hill that the Sears had put decades ago. This would increase the sight lines for the people that attend, and it'll make it a much better experience at the Village Green. The arena people are working very industriously on this. They're going to do weddings out at the Village Green area, and they've had already doing programming. They're going to have more programming outside, and I think that could be a real attraction. It is an attraction already, but it can be magnified many times over with the additions of what they're doing.
Thank you. Next question. What is your position on the retail sale of handguns in the village? Mr. McLeod, you're first.
Well, we have Cabela's, obviously, in Hoffman Estates, and it's allowed by law, and I don't think that we're going to change that. Obviously, if you look at the history in Hoffman Estates, we don't have a tremendous number of murders, and it's usually a dispute between either people who have a falling out or a family dispute. So I'm not looking at changing that at this point in time. Obviously, we don't want people walking down the street carrying semi-automatic weapons and everything like that. And they do have the concealed carries law. So I think that ship has sailed, basically.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
I think Cabela's actually does a fantastic job. We've dealt with them regularly. Their security and how they are handling the sale and tracking of their gun sales. I think it's everyone's right to own a handgun. That being said, I would like to see some more training type programs that are here, and they go to some of the other ranges. But I think there's a need, and whether Cabela's could do this or not, to actually get some sort of better training for your average citizen that has a gun at their home.
Thank you. Next question. What additional resources would you fund to encourage community involvement to reduce interpersonal violence and increase public safety in the village? Mr. Mueller, you're first.
Well, I think, the public safety in the village, and we've talked about this a little bit before, our police department's down to 85 officers. One of the biggest disappointments I think that I had over our careers, we have an office for a social worker in the police department that the village board never filled. We got rid of a juvenile investigator. We got rid of a sergeant for that. With all the mental health issues and drug addiction and domestic violence, we have an office that should be utilized right now to help our citizens when they need that help. And yes, we have the Health and Human Services at the Village Hall, but for us not to have that, to me, is disappointing, and I would like to see that implemented.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
I think our Department of Health and Human Services does an outstanding job. They do all sorts of counseling, and they do come over to the police building, other places when there is a need. They go out in the community. I think this is a national problem of great proportion, which I believe is only going to get worse. Obviously, we're going to need more funding. During the course of this pandemic, I think we've seen the stress that people are under, and that's just not going to suddenly end when the pandemic ends. So we need more funding. We really need a national program that would increase funding for all of these services. The local municipalities do not have the resources to handle the need that is out there. I think we saw this with the pandemic. Without a national plan, every state going off on their own, I think that's probably one of the reasons we've had the problem with the rollout of the vaccines.
Thank you. Next question. What can be done to make the village more friendly to walkers and bike riders? Mr. McLeod, you're first.
Yeah, this is something that we've worked on for a long time now. We didn't have bicycle paths except in the forest reserves at one point. So when we do an aggressive bicycle program, we just opened another route through the Genera Forest Reserve out west that connected that western area with the other bicycle paths in town. We've also been doing complete streets when we redo a street, so there is place for bicycles. This is a program where you're going to have to do a lot of retrofitting because the community wasn't designed when it was built to be as walkable as people would like it to be now. We'd all would like it to be much more walkable. Well, we are working on that very assiduously. One of the advantages we have is we do have these huge forest reserves, thousands of acres, that do have bike paths, that do have walking paths, and people utilize them to a very great extent, and that is a wonderful thing.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
I think the mayor's right. It's great walking availability in the village through the park district areas and out by the forest reserve. One of the things I know is a big concern is even during the winter time, a lot of people still were getting out walking. I think we have to address people doing common courtesy of shoveling their sidewalks, especially around the school, so kids can walk to and from. But the maintenance of the roads and the sidewalks, we see a lot of damaged sidewalks. Just that overall maintenance by the village is going to make it more accessible. And like I said, it's a younger community. You see more and more people that are out walking, riding bikes, and that's fantastic.
Thank you. Next question. Do you believe that local government officials should have term limits? Why or why not? Mr. Mueller, you're first.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, like I said, I give the mayor credit for the years that he's been in office, but why you'd want to be for that long, especially, we see right now on Facebook and all the comments and stuff like that people want to attack. It's not an easy thing to do. I think some fresh ideas and a fresh vision and perspective is great for anyone. Yeah, change is a little bit scary, but everyone has to have their start somewhere. And I think that, yes, term limits should be put into place.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
Well, obviously, I'm not a fan of term limits. I think the people should be able to elect the person they think is best qualified to serve in that position. I think we've seen that term limits with presidents probably haven't always worked out as well as many people would have thought they might have. We also have 6 members of the village board. We continually bring in new people who could potentially become the next mayor. We have Karen Mills has been around for a long time. The rest of the folks haven't been around anywhere near that long. So I think you elect the person who can do the job. And just because someone is doing a good job, there shouldn't be an arbitrary limitation, say, here's the door, go away. I think that's not right. I've seen towns where mayors had to retire because of term limits and their successors weren't as qualified as they were, bluntly.
Thank you. Next question. How do you propose to develop pipelines? I'm sorry, let me try this again. How do you propose to develop pipelines to identify and mentor emerging government leaders among women, people of color, young people, and LGBTQ members of our community? And Mr. McLeod, you're first.
I think we've done that continually. Our boards and commissions have a very diverse makeup, and that's where the farm team is. That's where the future trustees come from. They're interested in government or interested in a particular issue. They get involved in a board or commission, and you have to go out and seek people out. That's what I did with the Indian community and other communities when I first got elected into office as mayor. You have to get credibility with these groups and people that you really want them involved. And I think my history of outreach, I'm one of the mayors against discrimination against LGBTQ people with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I have my own stepdaughter is gay. So I'm all for getting everybody involved. And I think we worked very hard to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
Yeah, I think exactly of people getting involved in the different things that the village offers is paramount. And I think they have to feel welcomed and want to get involved. And that's what I hope to bring from here, a new excitement of getting people involved with these other commissions and committees. There are so many opportunities here. It's a very diverse group. We learned that so much even from our youth football league. My football league is probably the most diverse program that there is around. And that's why it's so much fun during that, having the different cultures and races that are playing in there. So I hope to do that through this Boys and Girls Club. We want to get everyone that's involved and let everyone know that they're welcome.
Thank you. Next question. What would you do to ensure the village is welcoming and inclusive to immigrants and newcomers? Mr. Mueller.
Well, I think that, to have those resources where people that are here know where they can go to get help, how to get help, and not be afraid to seek out that help. That's something that could be done through the village or through our police department as well, of letting the say undocumented immigrants that are coming in, how they can help with work and transportation and those resources to help them the right way and not just worry about the legal way of trying to get people in trouble. So I think if that's the big concern is new immigrants coming in feeling that they don't want to reach out for that help. So I would definitely put that out there so we can help them get involved.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
This is where credibility is so important. Our police department has never asked people their legal status. We want people, if they need the police, to call the police. The Northwest Municipal Conference put together a whole toolbox, a kit of information from all the various towns of how they deal with the incoming immigrants who may not be documented. And our Health and Human Services Department is very involved in that. when you're the mayor, you end up being the court of last resort. If somebody doesn't know what to do, where to go, they contact the mayor's office. And fortunately, we have a Health and Human Services Department that can pretty much answer any question anybody can ever have about how they can get some help. And we work closely with the social service organizations to make sure that everybody who moves here, comes in here, is secure and safe.
Thank you. Next question. Did the village continue to adequately serve its constituents during the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic? What adjustments were successful and what could have been done better? Mr. McLeod.
We continue to provide the same service we always did. The police were on the streets, the fire was on the streets, public works was on the streets. The village hall building was not accessible for 2 months during the beginning of the pandemic, but people were working there. We had rotating staffs, and if people could call or use the internet to get information or apply for a permit or any other thing else that they needed. So I think we worked very assiduously on that. We did have to do some reconfiguring at the village hall, put up the shields and all that to separate people. And we actually reconfigured our board meeting. We put up some tables in front of the podium where some of us sit on the floor to keep the social distancing. But the service remained the same. And I'm very proud of that. We didn't lay any people off. Everybody kept their job. And I think that was important. We have good people. We want to keep them.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
Yeah, I think that as far as your everyday services, yes, they were all done. Obviously, I was on the street as a part of that with our police department, and we ran seamlessly with the barriers. We did have some of our officers that got sick, but I think the things that were put in place there were good. Now, as far as our citizens, I'm still just super disappointed that we still don't have a vaccination site in this town. Why are we not helping our seniors with the shots? We have this arena that's vacant. I know it's said before, the county came to us and didn't pick us. Well, why are they picking everyone else? Why are they doing one in Schaumburg in a couple of weeks that was just out in the paper? Like, if we have these contacts in the state and all of these boards and commissions, why are we not using that in getting vaccination sites here? So I think our people in town feel like they are neglected on that they have to sit there and wait on the phone when they could get something here in their own village.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod, are you asking for a rebuttal?
Yes, I am.
Please continue.
We're involved with GEMS, the Joint Emergency Management System of the Northwest Suburban Area, and they're the ones that are putting the convention center site in place. So we are involved. I would prefer to have one in Hoffman Estates, obviously, but Schaumburg is a lot closer than going to Tinley Park or Des Plaines. So I think we work collectively as a group. I worked with the mayor daily in Schaumburg. He didn't care which town got it as long as it went somewhere. We hope to have more of these, and some will probably be in Hoffman Estates.
Thank you. Next question. There are many competing demands for how taxpayer dollars should be spent to deliver services to the village, including infrastructure, public safety, human services, and more. How would you prioritize these expenditures to serve the needs of village residents? And Mr. Mueller, we'll start with you.
I think that the infrastructure demands and continued need for that all the time is a huge thing. The people in town just want good services for what they're paying for. They move to this village for that. They have great police, great fire, and great public works. The school systems out here are fantastic, but there are concerns with that as well. The people that live out by me out west have concerns that their kids have to go to U46 high schools, or there's a small unincorporated part of land out here that goes to Barrington High School. They want those other affordability locations to go to. There's some areas up north that have questions about which junior high they go to. So I think that's just really going down to making sure that our citizens are getting the right care for what they're paying for.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Absolutely. There are many competing demands for how taxpayer dollars should be spent to deliver services to the village, including infrastructure, public safety, human services, and more. How do you prioritize these expenditures to serve the needs of village residents?
We do this through the budget process. Obviously, there are ongoing costs all the time. Infrastructure has to be maintained. Much of it isn't even seen by people because it's underground, but you have to maintain it. And what we decide in the budget is how we're going to allocate the monies. Infrastructure needs are never going to go away, and neither are these other needs. So we have to be careful what we do with the money. If you look at our corporate levy, it stayed the same, the tax levy. We've had increase in police and fire pensions over 4 years from payments of 6.4 million to 9.6 million. These are mandated by the state. So that's $3.2 million right off the bat that we have to pay also. So we have to allocate the money, and there's always more good programs than there is money. So that's the village board decision, and we don't always make everybody happy.
Thank you. Along the same vein, the next question is, what infrastructure projects do you feel are a priority to address in the village over the next 2 to 3 years, and how should they be paid for? Mr. McLeod, you're first.
Well, obviously, we mentioned some of these before. The water mains, the water main from they have to go under the tollway to service the area up north. That has to be replaced. That's a major priority. And that's one of the reasons that we did the joint agreement with Palatine, so we would have a secure water supply up north if something were to happen. Obviously, we also have our road program has to keep being maintain all the roads, which we are doing. And one item we probably would like to do at some point in time, which you're not going to be able to do, is something needs to be done with Fire Station 21. It's an old building, but that's been put off because of the pandemic and just the financial stress the country's under. So, but I think the infrastructure projects are really the key to what we need to do.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
I think the two biggest projects that need to be addressed a little bit more is power and water. So the water, we're hearing that all over. People have drainage issues, and our engineering department does a good job, but we need to get them involved of these specific areas. We've heard of 3 or 4 that said they've been reaching out for help and they haven't received it. So we try to explain to them the process of how it works. You go through engineering. And so, yeah, dealing with these drainage issues, there's a huge pipeline that has to be fixed going under Roselle Road by the old bowling alley that's going to be addressed right now that goes into parcel A. And a lot of people are still upset about the power outages constantly with ComEd. I mean, some of these areas need to have these lines buried. And yeah, it does cost money, but that needs to be planned and budgeted for so we can stop these power outages.
Thank you. Next question. What's the best advice you've ever received and from whom? Mr. Mueller.
I'm going to say the best advice I ever received was from my father. My dad was a union carpenter. I actually went and worked with him for a summer as a laborer before I got hired in law enforcement. And it was, hey, we're going to teach you the value of a dollar and hard work. And he said, as I was getting into law enforcement, and it would move forward into this position, is when somebody reaches out to you, make sure that you don't just blow them off. Their concern is valid. So when someone would call the police department, they're at their last leg of what to do. When someone, as the mayor says, calls the mayor's office, you need to make sure that you're accessible to them. So that's the best advice that he's given to me, and I've always tried to use that every day.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
Well, it was my father also. He told me that people are people, meaning that people are the way they are. You don't have to approve of the way they are, but you have to accept people as people. And though many times they're going to disappoint you, but you do have to help all people. That's one of the things I've learned in life early, has worked very well for me as a mayor, is that you have to reach out to people. They got a problem, listening to them. You can't always solve all their problems, but at least they get someone that listens to them. They all feel much better that they got it off their chest.
Thank you. Next question. How would you increase the involvement of residents in the decision-making and transparency process for local government? And Mr. McLeod, we'll start with you.
Well, one of the things I worked very hard and finally was able to get done about 10 years ago was televise our board meetings so people can watch in real time what's going on. It's shown again on our cable channels. We put all the village employees' salaries and their benefits and everything on the village website prior to the state saying you had to do that. We're as open, as transparent as we can be. We get a lot of FOIA requests, as do all municipalities, and we answer those. Again, we have all these boards and commissions. People want to get involved. They need to get involved. And they play a major role in what the emphasis the village board is going to have on what we do in the future. But people have to be involved also. They have to reach out. They have to pay attention to what's going on. You either watch the meetings or watch them on delay or read the newspapers. It always seems one of the things you deal with people is, well, now's not a good time. So when's a good time that we can share information and do everything with you? That's why we put so much on the website so people can access it at 3 o'clock in the morning if they want to.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller.
I think that people wanting to get involved is something that we have to, not that offer it to them, but remind them of the different opportunities there and to be welcome. There are all of these commissions and committees to get involved in. And I mean, the board meetings, they're great that they're televised, but honestly, when you watch them, they're boring. And some of them are boring topics that are on there. I think we need to have a little bit more fun, have people with the new energy of the things that are going on in the town. And I think that's going to get people more excited to get involved. It was so refreshing listening to people saying, oh my God, I would love to get involved with this, love to get involved with that. And so you try to send them to the right places to get involved. So I think that that can change. I think we can get a lot more people excited and involved in stuff that we have going on.
Thank you. Next question. What can the village do to create an awareness of how and where residents can cast their ballot in this and future elections? And how will you encourage them to vote? Mr. Mueller.
Well, I know everyone got an email from the county clerk's office, so they already got that going out there. But, you know, just through different social media aspects of how to vote. I mean, you know, different websites. Our campaign website has information how to do it. I know the mayor's has stuff how to do it. So we're both trying to get that information out there. Of course, we want people to vote. I mean, the local municipal elections have very low turnouts. And, you know, that's why some people don't get involved with the village stuff, because they're just like, you know, what's the point? Or you come after an election like that just happened that was so, you know, heated and debated. So we want the people to get involved and come out and vote. So, but I think you know, the village has the stuff on the website, even on the village hall website too.
Thank you. Mr. McLeod.
Yeah, I think we try everything we can. We do have information on the website. We are an early voting space and have been one for years. And it's very well publicized on the website, on the village website. And I think if people really want to vote, they can find out how to vote. You can, even if you're not tech savvy, you can call the village clerk and on the phone and give them your address. He can tell you what precinct you're in and where your polling place is. So if people really want to vote, they should have no problem finding out where they should vote. You can early vote, or you can get vote by mail now. So you never have to leave your house.
Thank you. Next question. Will you pledge to recycle your campaign signs, and how will you get the word out to your supporters? Mr. McLeod.
Yes, we always do that. You know how much signs cost? They cost a lot of money. So you do want to pick them up in case you run again. You have the signs. Yeah, and it's just plain rude not to do that, not to pick them up. And we have a list of who has signs, and we'll spend the next couple of days after the election picking them up. You know, I'd ask people after the election's over, take it out of your yard, maybe stick it up against your garage door. We'll come by and pick it up. we don't really want Public Works having to go around picking up all these campaign signs. They have bigger fish to fry than that.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller.
Yeah, we already have a plan in place for that, for collection afterwards, and I think that is very important. That there's still some signs up in the village from elections back in November. So we're gonna try and make sure that everyone who has a sign gets it back to us, and of course make sure that we recycle it.
Thank you. And this will be my last question before we move to closing statements. What makes you the best candidate for this job, Mr. Mueller?
I believe that although I don't have governmental experience, I have experience in being a leader. And that is what this position to me is. A title of a mayor, you are an ambassador for the residents of this village to make sure that they're getting the services that they pay for. And I believe that I will do a great job with that. I've always been put in positions of leadership and been open and honest with people. And that's what I will continue to do. I will continue to care about this community, seek good ideas, seek input from our residents, and develop a plan and work with this village board. As the mayor said, it's a whole team. It's not just one person. So my goal is to be the leader, put the best team that's together, and let them do their jobs.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod.
I think my proven track record speaks to why I make the best mayor. I've accomplished quite a few things in my 10 years mayor. Getting the Barrington Road to full interchange at Barrington Road was a project that was started 30 years ago, working with Tollway and with IDOT and the village. We were able to get this done, working with Governor Quinn, Representative Crespo. The hospital contributed $1 million to the construction of that. This was something that seemed impossible to do for many, many years. And it's projects like that, getting the Bell Works redeveloped. Very proud when I was a village trustee that we got the sprinkler ordinance where the new homes built in Hoffman Estates are sprinklered. Most of the homes out west are, and it's really cut down on concerns for the safety of citizens and the safety of our firefighters. When something needs to be done, I'll do it. Even played Santa Claus for a couple of days, driving through the village, giving out treats to kids. So whatever's got to be done, I'll do. That's my track record.
Thank you very much. Candidates, we've moved through 22 questions in the time allotted. We'll now move on to closing statements. And Mr. McLeod, we'll start with you.
Again, I've had a proven track record as a leader. I enjoy serving the village of Hoffman Estates. I've lived here in Hoffman Estates since 1978. Mr. Mueller just moved back into town in November of 2019. So I'm committed to this community, and I've shown that commitment to that community. I'm involved in all the different councils of government, which is very helpful in getting things accomplished for our village. I've been the leader of the Northwest Municipal Conference, recognized by my colleagues for my abilities. And I think that speaks for itself. Anybody can talk about being a leader, or I know I can get it done. You need somebody who has actually proven that they can get it done.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller, your closing statement, please.
Yeah, I did just move back a couple years ago, but I also lived here for 25 years before I moved into Schaumburg. And then worked in this village for 28 years. So I have been here on the street talking to these residents for the last 28 years. Why am I getting involved in here? Because some change is needed, plain and simple. I've been a people person. People have been asking me for years to get more involved in what I'm going to do at the end. We have issues in this town that need to be addressed and fixed, and not just have our friends that we're appointing to different committees and are going to be yes people. We have to fix this arena. The new lawsuit, losing this land of the Plody and Orger family from Beverly Road to Route 25 to the next village because they want to de-annex from here, is going to cost this village millions of dollars. Plain and simple. We need to bring back a good sense of community for here, like we talked about with our fests and other events like that, and get a general overall plan for Sears Corporate, because we all know within a couple of years there's going to be nobody in that building.
Thank you very much. So as we bring this forum to a close, I want to thank our candidates for their participation. We'd like to encourage all of our candidates to recycle their campaign signs. Members of the public can do so as well. Please visit the League of Women Voters Palatine area website for details. If you are not a registered voter, you can find registration information on our website as well. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Schaumburg Library, thank you all for coming today. I invite you to join us at 1 p.m. for the forum with 6 candidates who are running to fill 3 positions for Hoffman Estate Village trustees. And don't forget, early voting begins on March 22nd. There is plenty of election information available on the League's website. Please participate in our democracy by casting your ballot. Your vote is your voice. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.